Hello you wonderful viewers, Insane Frame here, back with our Xcom 2 solo series. Oh boy have I missed this game so much. For those who have never heard of the Xcom series, it's a turn-based game where you face off against alien forces who have invaded Earth. You command your squad of merry men who rank up, get more abilities whilst using the aliens' own weapons against them. But today's challenge, we're going at it with a single Templar, which poses the question, can you beat Xcom 2 with a single Templar? In the solo series, the reason it's so difficult is we run with a solo soldier. It's kind of difficult when you have a whole team, and shortening all their actions and movement to a single soldier, well, they can't do all the attacking and defending, so you kind of have to choose. Also, in War of the Chosen, you have a stat called Will, where if it gets low, our soldiers will become very tired and have to have some time off, so you can bet that will play a role in the challenge too. And if that wasn't enough, we also have the Chosen, alien field commanders who act as bosses, and minor spoiler, one of them was immune to melee, and I'm betting you can guess which one. So yeah. With all that sorted out, let's move on to the Templar class themselves, their pros and cons. Now, the Templar at their base are sort of like a Ranger and a Psyoptive smushed together. They have the melee capacity of the Ranger, and then they have the abilities sort of like the Psyoptive, but in their own sort of flavour. But also, they are one of the 3 faction classes. I've done a video on the Reaper and the Skirmisher if you want to go check that out and how they performed in the solo run. But the Templar, whilst they are very strong early game and definitely have some excellent late game abilities, in the mid game they do suffer because they have no way of doing armor penetration unless we give them armor pen rounds, but then we risk being mind controlled and have all sorts of psionic attacks that can hit us. So they're not as great as the Psyoptive when it comes to resisting all of that, and they're not as good as damage as the Ranger, so it's kind of like a hybrid class of the two. But what they do have is a high survival rate and lots of tools at their disposal, including being able to heal and make an enemy useless, and they can do lots of area attacks with Ionic Storm and that. The problem is we have to train them up to get them to that point first and have the ability points to go. Also, I'm going to preface this by saying the Templar class is actually my least experienced class that I have played with. So out of all the classes, the Templar are the one I'm least familiar with. So with all of that and everything set, let's quickly get into the rules. We may only use one Templar as a soldier in the field, excluding the first mission. Optives are allowed, but only for covert ops, since they are not allowed to do any fighting or anything of the like. No cheating or exploits, and we're going to be playing on commanded level difficulties. With the intro done and XCOM 2 waiting for us, let's get into the game. Now, we go to the Sky Ranger and we see all of our soldiers for the first mission. First mission is the only mission where we have multiple soldiers since we are forced to take them. So the mission goes pretty simple. A few guns go off, Advent can't really deal with the ambush, we face them and square off, they get a few explosions in their faces, and we then finish with a lovely explosion, Bradford saying well done, and we finish the mission. Back aboard the Avenger, we do the right thing and dismiss all the soldiers. They're probably all hyping our new guy up at the bar, and our chosen soldier is here. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Maxwell von Klein. Possibly former villain and evil genius? Maybe, but here he is in today's challenge. He's out for redemption with the Templars with an awesome looking monocle, so welcome aboard, Dr. Maxwell. We get the terrific trio, Dr. Richard Tygan, Chief Engineer Lily Shen, and of course Commander John Bradford. They're in every run, so here they are in this one. Our first few days is getting research off the ground and building the most important buildings such as the infirmary, since we are with the Templars after all, and their bonus reduces wound time, so this is invaluable for us. However, our first mission is afoot, and normally this is a pain, but with Templar we have melee to take care of the sectoid, so it's not instant GG when they mind control us. Quite refreshing, honestly. Then it's taken out the alien relay from the rooftop. The sectoid is unlucky as he gets caught, and then with the main threats out, it's clearing up the troopers. However, these guys this early in the game are no pushovers. As shown, they can land a hit and do serious extra damage. But we use our most overpowered thing, manners, ladies and gentlemen. The door opens, the trooper gets the Emperor Palpatine treatment. They return fire, so we give them the London treatment by stabbing them and running off to the roof. So the last trooper can't find us, we give him quite the shock, literally. And then, once all of that is done, we head back to base with mission complete. We are out for just under a week, but we get our promotion, and when soldiers rank up, we get new abilities, and we decide on a bonus ability, the sharpshooter ability, Quick Draw. So if we shoot with our pistol, it no longer ends our turn, letting us get an extra attack. Dr. Tiger, and then a fellow colleague of Dr. Maxwell, gives us a briefing on our recent scientific finds. However, our ally needs help, and this mission can quite literally make or break this run due to the intel being very precious for us. So, second mission. Our friends the Lost are present this mission. The Lost are a trade-off. They hit our will before we go up against them, but they can also fight against the enemy, which is very helpful early on. We let the enemy fight amongst each other, and as we wait for the perfect opportunity, we go in and get our team to safety and take a couple of the Lost out in the process, turning a stressful mission into a very, very easy mission. And why can't we just have more missions like these? They're absolutely brilliant. But back at base, we get another promotion, and this ability is very niche, the Pillar. It creates high cover at the cost of 1 focus and 1 action. And more good news as we start building on the Avenger, including a resistance ring, arguably the most important facility for us. But then horror strikes as well. The retaliation mission is here. Those who are unsure, these are pretty difficult early on, since a Chosen is almost guaranteed to be present. The alien bosses, with a Templar however, it's more than doable if we're careful. So we go in with a mind shield just in case, since we don't know which of the Chosen will show up. But good thing, since the Warlock decides to show up, now we need to show him we mean business. So we rescue a few people, and that's really good to see Dr. Maxwell doing something nice. And also the Warlock actually helped us out with destroying the Faceless with his explosion zombie. So thank you, Mr. Warlock. It's very nice of you. Now that the main surprise has been taken care of, we can focus solely on the Warlock himself, since he has a weakness against Templars. This is brilliant, since we can just keep damaging him and it's not a problem. It's not long before we send him back to the Shadow Realm and get ourselves some wonderful ability points in the process. The Sky Ranger takes us back to base, we get a promotion, so we get Lightning Hands. Just a free pistol shot, straight up, every 3 rounds. And secondly, we get amplified, so we can spend some focus to do extra damage. It's an okay ability, if not, again, a little bit niche. But then the Elders have their meeting with the rest of the Chosen, and Dr. Maxwell is now in their sight. He's a threat. With month 1 over, we have Mr. X give us our results, and we have probably the best order for a solo run. Noble cause. This makes will recovery 20% faster. So yes please, this is just absolutely amazing. And then back at the world map, we scan for a scientist, and luck is on our side since we get a sword breakthrough. Yes please, Tigan, that would be very nice, sir. The base is starting to come online with our structures, and then our next mission is afoot, so we deploy on in. Also, for those of you who are unsure, the reloading in this sort of setup is I'm allowed to reload from the map selection screen. However, I'm not allowed to reload during the mission. This is to keep things fair, and also the enemy positions changing that, so we're both on an even playing field. Anyway, back to the mission. It goes about as well as you'd expect, a few hits here and there. We also unravel some psionic spaghetti, ending several enemies in a single turn, and then cut down a couple of enemies to end the mission. Short, sweet, and awesome. Exactly what we love in these solo runs. Shortly after that, the mission we have a week, and then a supply raid mission comes on. This mission was very interesting, to say the least. Scouting around, we find a group of Faceless. Now, Faceless can heal 2 HP a turn, so it doesn't take long as we front load and eliminate the first enemy. We still have 2 Faceless though, so almost immediately we run into the train. I wish we had Bladestorm, but alas we don't, so we use some creative thinking and then we come up with a solution. Thanks to the pillar, we block the train door, and in case you're wondering, I counted the movement for both of the Faceless to have one waste their movement whilst the other then attacks us, damaging both of us, allowing us to take out the second Faceless at the cost of some of our health. A creative solution that gets everything sold. Gotta love it. We We then rend the third faceless and he's stunned, so luck is on our side and we can finish him thanks to blocking the train door, so good time. The rest of the mission is killing stun lancers and faceless by using hit and run. Turns out getting away from pointed things works well, and we also get a nice PCS combat stim. This loot is a fantastic find as it'll increase our movement when we get the Guerrilla Tactics school up. After this though, we get our mission under our belt and Dr. Maxwell von Klein is now a captain. I suppose his name is Captain Maxwell von Klein PhD or Captain Dr. Maxwell. Anyway, get him off track, but the most amazing perk is here. We wish for Blaze Storm. We now have Blaze Storm. This run just got a whole lot easier since this hits like a freight train. An S tier perk right here. You're going to be hearing Blade Storm a lot now in this video because, well, we're playing a melee class and Blade Storm is fantastic with it. Anyway, Covert Ops is back and we now have another top tier order, Guardian Angels, so we will not be ambushed on Covert Ops for the rest of the run. This is up there with Noble Cause and is amazing stuff. We grab magnetic weapons and Lily demonstrates how deadly a shot she is and the weapons as well. So we decide to start going after the Warlock by doing Covert Ops. Fortunately, we do have to pass on the Templar mission. Not great since they're offering lots of intel. The Covert Ops is a success, so we're one step closer to the Warlock. We do manage to get Dr. Maxwell, making friends with a Reaper called Emily Thomas, if that's her real name of course, but this will help out later with Covert Ops. Unfortunately, the game doesn't like to play fair, so we dive into Guerrilla Ops and we immediately get into some hot water. So we avoid combat by running into the back alleys and let the Lost do their heavy lifting since they don't like the Advent, but we find the Field General and unleash everything we have on him. And of course, say it with me everybody, Blade Storm. Yep, the general is Blade Storm and dies. The rest of the forces are tied up thanks to Lost, and now we have Blade Storm. We really don't have to worry about the Lost anymore since most of the enemy have fallen. We just go around, let Blade Storm mop up the enemy, and I've said it an awful lot already. And then the enemy are defeated. We go back to the Avenger and then it's time for our last bonus perk, and what a perk it is. We go ahead and get Fortress. This little nifty perk makes us immune to fire, explosives, acid and poison damage. We also now have deep focus, raising our max focus by 1 point, so we're getting more powerful. But yeah, Mr. X is happy that we countered the dark event. We use Covert Ops to go and grab some ability points for us. However, a dark event triggers to increase our scan time. So with things looking bleak, a retaliation mission. Oh, this is not good. But we have tea, and being a challenge runner, this is my job. So in we go. Dr. Maxwell gets to his feet and marches toward the aliens. Dr. Adam Warlock is here and we make a mockery of his spectral minions thanks to Blade Storm. Take a couple more kills under our belt since the enemy can't really stop us now, and after going into a building we see another squad. Charge into the mech, it goes as much as you'd expect, but a flame trooper sets the whole place aflame and the Mouton is a pain. We have an extended melee towards one another, an honour duel if you like, but it's then our rival, the Warlock, and he tries his damnedest, but we manage to take him out, ending the mission with some extra ability points which we're more than happy with. After the mission, we get plated armor. This is simply excellent. And we've also picked up a negative trait, Fear of the Chosen. This is not very good. So it's off to therapy for Dr. Maxwell. I'm sure he's absolutely thrilled at the prospect of therapy. Sorry, Dr. Maxwell. Meanwhile, we decide to use our operatives to do more covert ops, mainly so they can get promoted, and Dr. Tigan and his scientists are working overtime. We get the Gorse weapons, and we also grab an engineer from the world map, finally getting a second engineer, and that means we get a tier 2 mag pistol, so things are going well, you know, and we also get building more infrastructure. Our next mission though is thanks to Guerrilla Ops, so Dr. Maxwell goes in, we sneak around, take out the relay, that's the easy peasy part. Now for the hard part, we go into a house, into the entrance to the bedroom, and Blade Storm does quite the display. Reading this out loud, the innuendos are endless, so you know, take that as you will guys. But lightning hands, oh here we go again, does enough damage for us and we get into the bedroom and wait for our entertainment. A stun lancer and a mech shop ready to get down, and they stay down since we get lots of Blade Storm procs, overwhelming them in a flurry. Of course, the enemy are dumbfounded, and on our turn we double down, eliminating the enemy thanks to Blade Storm. Downstairs, the sectoids are gathered very strangely, probably listening or something, so we give them the lightning hands with a shocking revelation. And of course, we finish with our favourite perk doing its thing. All the innuendos in that paragraph, dearie me. Anyway, there's a few enemies left and we just fill them in, give them the standard Templar treatment, and then it's back to the Sky Ranger after a night of absolute amazing Bladestorm. We now hit Colonel, the final rank for us, and oh my days, does it not disappoint. There are some amazing abilities here. I can see why a lot of people like the Templar. I don't go for one of the really cool abilities, instead I go for a quality of life ability, so I go for Arc Wave. Every time we hit an enemy with our sword, we cast a wave that can damage multiple enemies. Think of it as the Flame Trooper when they fire their cone of fire, very similar deal here. Next we have Overcharge. Every time we use our melee attack, we have a 33% chance of gaining focus. We also get Channel, so enemies can drop focus when they die. And lastly, we get Stun Strike. Admittedly, I thought this applied to our normal attacks, but it's an ability we use for one focus point. This is my inexperience with Templars coming through, but hey, we're learning very quickly. On to the Warlock, aka Dr. Maxwell von Klein's rival. And well, we're a step closer in Covert Ops, so we're getting somewhere. We have a few events we miss out on, not great, but we fast tracked the last Covert Ops so we can fight the Warlock when we're ready. It's now time for the Black Site mission though. As we walk in, it becomes very apparent that Chosen Warlock is not a fan, but we have a job to do, and as a former evil genius turned anti-hero, we show them we have standards and professionalism. Lots of melee, and our immunity explosions is a pain in the absolute ass to our opponents, as they soon realise resistance is futile and we are just too damn powerful and too experienced now. We decide to grab the vial and make our way out, but reinforcements come in and Chosen Adam Warlock doesn't seem to learn, so we juke it out and his entourage are very quickly dead. The lightning comes out and we give the stabby once again. Then it's just time to just beat the crap out of the Chosen Warlock, and sure enough, more ability points for us as we just move next to him, stab him, next turn, do the same thing, and he can't really do anything against us since we can just parry him. But anyway, this has saved us from the Doom Tiber. You kind of get used to it doing solo challenges, but yes, if that thing hits 0, we fail this run and have to repeat the whole campaign again. But as long as you have a way to take a point of the Avatar project, it's fine. Illyrium's research giving us access to tier 3 research, so we are doing good. Unfortunately, we had to skip Guerrilla Ops. Not a good idea, as it means more dark events. But we do sabotage the Avatar project thanks to Covert Ops, since our solo soldier is out of action. And we get a nasty surprise in the form of another Chosen called Falmasha. And yes, it just so happens the assassin is immune to melee. Xcom, you really know how to pick them, so thank you very much, I guess. Now, having a very dangerous opponent, we quickly get the Covert Ops team reassigned and task them with going after the assassins. They are our number one priority at the moment. Then the third alien Chosen appears. They're all coming at us now. With our hands full, it's a frenzy of Covert Ops to get our stats up as well as buy us some time. But now it's time to face the Chosen assassins, since they are pretty scary. We deploy into the first stronghold mission and it's not long before the fighting begins. After all, the fighting, we get to the Ascension Gate. The assassin has their intro and it's game on. Now we have a huge problem. The assassin is immune to melee, and sorry Bladestorm, you are going to have to sit this one out. Whilst we can't hurt them in melee, we can still parry, allowing us to mitigate their melee attacks. As long as it's a 1 vs 1, we are okay, because we also have Void Conduit, so we can heal during the fight. Something I picked up before going into the stronghold. We have Focus to spend, and the fight is pretty much a pendulum at first. The assassin makes ground, then we make ground, but Lightning Hands and Quick Draw allows us to shoot and chip away at the assassin. As long as we melee attack and we parry, we're pretty good. It takes a while, but the assassin is chipped away, but we are in rough shape, since the assassin can wound us very dearly if we make a single mistake, which we most definitely have, as, you know, it is what it is. Senior Archon and his buddy get a bit of a bad day from us, but it's playing tag with the assassin, quite literally, as we shoot them with the auto pistol, like he's trying to hurt us, Thankfully, it's mainly mechs shooting grenades at us, but we're immune to explosion. And we also get Void Conduit trapping an enemy, so we get lovely much needed health for round 2 of the assassin fight. More of the alien summoned forces are dealt with, Priest and Mech are dealt with for the most part, leaving an injured mech, and the Chosen uses Harbour Wave. This is our opening, so it's back to playing tag with the assassin, and since we have a couple of henchmen, they make our parry proc, and the main villain gets a good hit on us, but we Void Conduit a Lancer to heal up a little bit more, and it's going down to the wire for us. When the tag game is over and a dozen bullet holes are in the assassin, but eventually we do destroy the sarcophagus and we do charge into the assassin and we do a double tap followed by the Emperor Palpatine treatment, a nice lightning bolt to end the Chosen fight. You can see how many turns this took. Yes, 138 turns. That is the longest amount of turns I've ever done in a fight, but you know what, patience is a virtue, so the Elves are annoyed since we've destroyed the biggest threat to us, and Dr. Adam Warlock is crapping it. We're back and we're out for 6 days, but we get a breakthrough for auto pistols. This may just save the run for us, and at this point in the run we got covert ops, and it's just really nice to do whatever since we can just be boosting our stats now, and it's always a good idea, especially in XCOM 2, to boost your stats, especially in a solo run. We then decide the training center is needed, and as I said earlier, we get a level 2 bond, and this will help because what this does is it makes covert ops take 1 less day. It doesn't sound like much, but it adds up to huge amounts in the long run. We start expending our contact and getting them grueling gorilla ops out the way, and now the heavy artillery is starting to show up. But as per the usual, our friends the Lost have got us back, and we begin taking out the first sector pod. Honestly, it wasn't as bad as I thought, but it's still quite a grisly fight. These things have a lot of armor, but thankfully their Wrath Cannon gives us an opening and we can just do as we will. But we walk away with over 70 kills, although the Lost inform me they're returning to Dr. Valen's lab to make some tea, so good on them. We'll meet them for afternoon tea in a civilized area. Also, an engineer's also gained on the world map, so things are actually looking up, and this run's starting to turn around. We then get some covert action whilst the Guerrilla Tactics School is finished, so we get the perk Mentally Awake, allowing us to start with 1 focus. Doesn't sound like much, but it gives us options in the early game. There's a big leap in power for us as we get another Colonel ability. We can now summon Spectral Soldiers. Whilst not as good as the Psi Soldiers' mind control, it is still an extra body that can continuously blaze them, so not complaining there one bit. With that ability, it's time we go face another Chosen. This time, Dr. Adam Warlock. A little bit of a Marvel reference for you all. We just absolutely crush any of the enemies that deploy against us since we just hit multiple enemies. The most notable is the Andromedan and the trail of acid coming from the soup. We just follow the acid trail towards the Ascension Gate, so we go on up. Sure enough, our main rival is waiting for us. He is in for a bad time, as Sans would say from Undertale. Every time we hit the Warlock, he gets a massive chunk of HP carved out of him. So all we have to do is keep slicing him down so we can become the anti-hero against the Alien Scourge. But what's better than 1 Blade Storm? Well, 2 Blade Storms. So we summon Max 2. Oh yeah, from now on we're going to call our Spectral Soldier Max 2. We tag team and it goes extremely well. He has to use focus to attack, so he can't stay around forever, but nothing stopping him from spamming his Blaze Storm constantly. An extra body is always useful in these challenges. I'm sure this Archon being stabbed in the torso agrees. The enemy, unsure of what to do, tried to do their damnedest, but 2 Dr. Maxwell is a little too much for them to handle. I've got to admit, it'll be pretty nightmarish to handle 2 Templar like this. So we keep stabbing the enemy with the 2 of us. They hole up in the corner, we pin them down and gradually storm them out as Max 2 marks some enemies. Then the Warlock just eats a massive hit after he mind controlled Max 2 against us. Shame on you, Warlock, you deserve to be hurt. But after we kill the Warlock, we then get back to being a duo. We have an Andromedan try and punch us. It doesn't work, and an Archon actually decided to fly in the air to unleash a barrage. But we get out the way, and Senior Andromedan is defeated, and he gets out for blood in his phase 2. Only for Max 2 to use Blade Storm and have the Archon both on lockdown, letting Dr. Maxwell land a hit on Adam Warlock. The enemy decide more units need to seize Max 2, and frankly, got to admit it's not working out well for them. So Dr. Warlock decides Spectral Army, but once again, yeah, they estimate the power of our genius since we set up a defensive line and the enemy just charge into 2 Templar, one a Spectral Ghost and regular Dr. Maxwell and Klein. It's not going well for them. Anyway, once all that is done, the next round of damage on the sarcophagus and it's destroyed. So the Warlock is vulnerable and he decides to use mind control. It doesn't work on us, Warlock. You should know that by now and all of these solo series. But we move in and of course a priest decides to use sustain. Max 2 is an absolute MVP and holds the line, and when sustain is broken, we end the Warlock, the rivalry is done, and we are the only battlefield genius who gets to wear a monocle and sip tea. We have done it! The second chosen is down and his cutscene plays showing we have beaten him. Lovely stuff. Next is the Hunter. We need some breathing room, so we go to sabotaging the Avatar project via covert ops. Lily Shen once again shows she is not to be messed with because we now have the tier 3 is here to stay. So we upgrade our pistol, the covert ops comes to fruition, and it's time the Legion of Doom meet a proper former villain turned hero. I don't know why I'm thinking of Gru from Despicable Me, but hey, that's the image I got in my head. And I've just realised Trooper Joe in the Skirmisher run had the same arc as Dr. Maxwell von Klein. And to be fair, they would actually be awesome drinking buddies. But anyway, getting off topic, first we have to stop the Hunter. However, Gorilla Ops says hello, so hello Gorilla Ops, you're lovely to see you. We start the mission off, and we start off by sneaking around as per usual. We open fire and get a trooper done, and start going at the general. The general gets destroyed, and well, the alien cavalry, I suppose, they don't use horses, but they are here with a scuba alien and some sectoids, so go them. We get Max 2 back in the field, summoning him back in the fray, and he does an amazing job by taking out the priest who used Holy Warrior on Scuba Alien, who is now not doing so hot. But we have bigger problems. The Archon King is here apparently, a pro wrestler as he chokeslams Max 2, so Dr. Maxwell isn't taking this wrestling shenanigans. Although it's pretty cool, and we start going at him with some proper force until he needs to retreat. We complete the mission and Mr. X is all too happy with us, so good job then. Anyway, we get the Black Site Vial research, it's pretty grim, and we also blow up a facility, so good job Maxwell, using your expertise there. And it is now time to hit the last chosen. The Avatar counter is low enough, we have tier 3 weapons, and our stats are pretty high now, so we go through the stronghold, no problem. Get to the Ascension Gate, the Hunter is waiting, and we'll have a Season 2 after each class is done. But for now, we have to face the Hunter, and well, he doesn't fare well against us at all. It's very similar to what we did to the Assassin, just move next to him, attack, parries, and the results are very, very good. Then we get Max 2 to help us out, since we're going to need someone to use Blade Storm after all. Whilst that is going very well, we then start shooting the sarcophagus, and it starts to go down. The Hunter tries his luck once again, but he's severely outclassed by our pro gamer's skills, aka spam the parry button after melee. Once dealt with a few more times, the sarcophagus are destroyed, and round 4, and we got him right where we want him, and it's all over. No chosen weapons for us this run, we are a faction class after all, but the chosen are eliminated, so we are now entering the late game, as is the thing with these challenges. Once the chosen are done, you then got to worry about sector pods and gatekeepers. But the good news is, we find the reason why the aliens are not liking space cancer, so they're trying to make a cure by building new bodies called avatars. So we just decide to go at it and skulljack a codex. This is very risky since we only have one item slot, so we line up the ideal moment, and I wish I had armor piercing rounds, but we do have something, and that's Void Conduit. So we can restrain the Avatar and just pile on the damage to really ruin the Avatar's day. The final mission, I will admit, is going to be very interesting, but 1 vs 1, we're fine. The mission ends up with blowing a facility, so all is good. And we have more shadow research we can do, but this research needs everything else researched before it. But the Avatar project is doing well. We get a supply raid mission, and oh boy, we are certainly in the end game. Apparently, since all the heavy hitters are present, our tea drinking friends are here. However, there are many, and we don't want to be on the receiving end of this. So we back the Friar Tuck up and regroup whilst our zombie tea drink friends cover for us. I hear they want to sign an agreement with us, providing they get a regular supply of tea. They are doing an excellent job for us, and I will have to agree, providing they stay within their own island. So we get reinforcements in the form of Max 2. Max 2 joins the fray and it's double trouble. But the enemy are gradually being pushed back. The Andromedan and the rest of the enemy are bogged down thanks to loss. The big threat is the Gatekeeper. That thing has 6 armor, not great. But we do have sonic powers which bypasses armor, so we smack it a couple of times. Then we use Volt to really mess up the Gatekeeper. Then when it's on its turn, it heals up and opens itself up for some attack. So we go ahead and stab it, seeing that's kind of what Templars do, and we manage to rack up the damage, so it dies. Hooray! The T-zombies are furious since manners were not used, and, kind of rightfully so. So we finish up with Bladestorm, dealing with them. However, we are wounded, but look at the mission and kill counter. I think we're doing pretty damn well. Anyway, we get the next story mission. A gate has been located, and we have to see what it's all about. So we start our mission, slicing and dicing. Senor Scuba, he's having a great time. The Archons charge us as well, and fail as we just destroy them since melee is our specialty. Also, chrysalids aren't a problem because Bladestorm, and I hope one of you is playing the Bladestorm drinking game, where you take a drink every time Bladestorm is said, but I'm not responsible unless it's tea drinking, of course. But after some chrysalids are dealt with, the cutscene plays as we get close to the gate. And the Gatekeeper, well, this fight is an absolute joke. Parry really is quite the ability, so within a couple of turns of just slash him repeatedly, we pretty much get the win no problem. Simple, easy, and effective as heck. Grab the Sonic Gate and install it on the Avenger. No idea how we deconstructed the whole gate and got it on the Avenger, but hey, it's a lot smaller and it's hip. With another story done, it's time to turn our attention to our abilities. So we go for Deflect and Reflect, so now shots have a chance based on our focus of going straight back to the enemy. Kind of a worse version of the Sharpshooter's return fire, but hey, it has an offensive element to parry, so it's not bad by any means. But the next Guerrilla Ops is here and we rock up to take some data. We see the Gatekeeper and we actually do get a Reflect to show him what for, and we take cover. Then as the enemies don't manage to hit us, so we charge in and we know we can pop around the corner, and well, the enemies are caught off guard. So the shield bearer falls thanks to being burnt by the environment. Silly advent in their lasers, I must say. And the Gatekeeper gets a nice bolt electrocuting him and making him fall, so the main threat is eliminated. After our escapades, we get the station hacked and then summon Max 2 into the fray, allowing us to gain the upper hand and ruin the enemy's day. They can't keep up with us, we are simply too much to handle as a duo, so we clean up as the Archon says hello from the skies, hello Archon, and we go to town as they fall bit by bit. We have a scratch, but we're okay from the scuffle. After a few days, we blow up another facility, and then it's time to get our last heavy hitter ability. Ionic Storm. We can now cast the storm at a location of our choosing. It does a truckload of damage and helps with armor pen since the damage is psionic, so it bypasses all armor, so we're all good for dealing finishes against our opponent. It's then high time we get the stasis suit, and well, Sectopod is here, so it gets Bladestorm, and then the Sectopod thankfully uses Wrath Cannon, so at least we got a turn to do what we want to do, and when we strike it, we get lucky and it shuts down. Lovely stuff. And we combine the Sectopod, then we use the Ionic Storm, and the Emperor 40k would be proud of us. Takes a little bit more, so since we're right next to it, as it turns, the Sectopod inevitably gets hit by a Bladestorm proc, and we're done and dusted with this bad boy. It's then Scuba Alien's turn next, and we're doing okay since we get a hit, but the Archon rubs salt in the wound as the vehicle explodes in a beautiful display on the bridge. So now everything is on low health and we just stay in cover and start destroying everyone when it suits us. We end their shooty shoots. The facility has more enemies inside, but they are no match for us since we storm on in and wreak havoc on everyone. It's absolutely wonderful. When we get the status suit, it's easy peasy as we just walk away, no problem, due to us having so much mobility. Then covert ops are really starting to pay off. As we progress, we managed to get a lot of things done, including get the avatar autopsied, playing a cutscene. Always love this cutscene, by the way. It's subtle yet very well done. And then we get the cutscene of the avatar's body. And Tiger and Shen have a plan, and it involves us piloting the avatar to give the alien a taste of their own medicine. Shortly after, we also get Mr. X give us a broadcast to say that the
Elders are going to roll out a miracle cure in the Gene Clings. We kind of know what the Elders are like, so that's not happening, because it's all a setup to mass abduct the human population. Somehow, the aliens just never change, since they want to make more avatars like the one we got. But it costs millions of human lives, and to stop it, we're going to consume a whole pint, even a whole teapot of Yorkshire tea. But before we do the final act, we decide to do mass covert ops to get our stats up to scratch for that of the final form, which is an Xcom boss soldier. And to be frank, it goes really well. And by the way, here's our stats before we're going in. Pretty damn serious. The final mission is still going to be a huge challenge for us, but we come this far, so let's get into the tower. Now, the tower, quite frankly, it's a walk in the park since our movement is so high, so we can just run and almost in 3 or 4 turns, since we have a really high mobility. It's just fantastic, and the mission is complete. Simple as that. Another cutscene plays and reveals the aliens' plans to everyone, and the people learn the truth, as the speaker is a massive dick, as he always is in these playthroughs, and realises his manipulation will no longer work, and everybody and his little doggo goes for him. Then we have the final mission. We get into the aliens' HQ, and it begins with an awesome cutscene, and it's time to hit the final mission. So, final mission. We have an avatar, but we're not going to be using this avatar in any way, shape or form. It is not allowed to help us. So it's over to Dr. Maxwell von Klein. And well, first opponents, 2 codexes and an Andromeda. Not a great start, but we deal with this no problem. We have our first ability, proc of face off, and we use it to great effect to dish out the damage everywhere. With our pistol, it's just a top tier ability and does absolutely amazing. They do a psionic sphere and we get a proc. Guy goes down, all is good. Finish off the codexes, so the Andromedan tries attacking us, but we parry and unleash all of our attacks on him, and it's pretty damn devastating actually, gotta say. And we decide to leave the Andromedan alive, so his trail will point us in the right direction of the next enemy. But before that happens, a sectopod shows up. To be fair, this is only the 3rd one of the playthrough, and thank goodness. So we take out the units around him, so we're all good, and kill 1 shield bearer, and then they proc Bladestorm. It's pretty much over since we retreat, only to have more enemies come at us. The sectopod gets a shot off on us. Not the end of the world, but yes, it is kind of not great. But the acid damages it, and we swing our sword, and we're okay. Major threat taken care of. The Archons get up close, but since we shot them with the face-off, they come up close and get taken out no problem. The face and blade combo is actually very strong, and I wish I got face-off much earlier, but it's an expensive ability at 25 ability points. By the way, that's the equivalent of a Colonel level ability, so there you go. But then the enemy decide enough of that and go for us. So we shoot and stab, which is, simple enough. And it removes a codex, so we're all good. Another headache taken care of. The next batch of enemies, well, they have a gatekeeper. But we also have a lot of firepower, so we're good. And we go in, and after a brief scuffle, you guessed it, Ionic Storm, dealing ridiculous damage since it's psychic damage and it bypasses armor. The Vipers aren't too bright, and we decide to just keep Bladestorming them, so yay us. And we head to the door in the last area and sort through the Vipers, and we destroy them. So now we've beaten everyone, and now it's the time for the finale. Now, we need to defeat 3 avatars, but waves of enemies will keep spawning, and the kicker is they're going to keep spawning, so we're on a time limit with 1 Templar to get this done. Now, I will admit, I've done many attempts on this last mission, going from the very start, where we deploy with the avatar and that, and well, I actually wasn't sure if it was possible, so I left my PC on overnight, went away from the challenge, and came back with a fresh perspective, and treated it almost like a chess puzzle. And this is what I came up. So, first thing to consider is we do have Ionic Storm, but that will be our 1-2 punch taken out, and we want to save this for the avatars. So, we have our first avatar, burn them down very rapidly before the enemies even get a chance to get en masse, and we end the first avatar without too much of a sweat, with a sword slash, and we can put 1 on the chalkboard. Now that the enemies are spawning, we need to be careful about our angles of cover. This is the trick to the last mission. The second avatar is surrounded by a lot of enemies, so we shoot at the avatar, doing some damage, and their teleport is the worst thing, since we have to move near them to attack them, and they regain 5 HP around, which doesn't sound like a lot, but after 2 rounds it's 10, after 3 it's 15, so it adds up very quickly. However, we do have Ionic Storm, so we use our ace in the hole to finish off the avatar, doing a whopping 21 damage. You heard that right, 21 damage, and it's enough to take out the second avatar. Not bad, but the last avatar is going to be very tricky since we're almost out of health, so we're 1 turn away from death. So we get max 2 into health. It's not too much, but it's 1 extra target, and the Gatekeeper decides to nom on a random enemy, so thank you for sparing us, Gatekeeper. With the aliens moving in, we're on a time clock, so we use max 2 to cast Volt on the 3rd avatar, doing hefty damage, and it still counts as psychic damage. We get more damage off, but the aliens keep coming, so we dig our heals in, and on the alien turn we have the avatar teleport next to max 2, and on our turn we get 1 Emperor Palpatine treatment. We do 1 more Emperor Palpatine treatment, and then we take out the avatar, ending the run, answering the question, can you beat Xcom with a single Templar? Yes. Yes, you can, and they are a very strong class, that's for sure. Okay, everyone, that was XCOM 2 command level difficulty with 1 Templar. Good in some sense, not so good in others. If only we had the extra item slot, that would have made a huge difference. I will say, the assassin being immune to melee, that took so long to work out, and it actually took me a week in real time to actually work it out. But, you know, with the 3 faction classes, all 3 are done now. We have quite the plan for upcoming challenges, so we'll do some classic runs. I know you guys like them. And there's some new weapons in Fallout 4. I say new, they're from the recent update. And hopefully we can get a Cyberpunk run or 2. Got quite a plan for that, and it's a very enjoyable game. So, hope you all enjoy that, and I hope you all been good. Anyway, up in Insane Frame, it's that time in the video. Thank you very much for the watching. I'll get to the next one, which will be Fallout 4 with a Power Fist. So, how we'll beat Swan, I'm not 100% sure. We'll try our very hardest. So, stay tuned. And I hope to see you all then. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Thank you for watching and have a good day, you wonderful people. Look after yourselves. This is Insane Frame, signing out. Have a good one, everyone.